Hello and welcome to Motorsport and Performance. I'm Teddy and today we are showing you how to install a DW400 in-tank fuel pump. So let's open the box and see what we've got. The DW400 pump itself and the hardware kit needed to fit it to the specific vehicle you're installing it to. An instruction sheet, and that's everything. So before we start, let's just quickly talk about the fuel pump. So what application would you use one of these for, or why would you fit one? You would look to install or upgrade your fuel pump normally when you are going forced induction. This car has got a 3 litre Whipple supercharger attached to it, so it is going to need it for the upgraded fuel system. The alternative to installing an in-tank fuel pump is by using a fuel pump booster. Now when you use a fuel pump booster, all you're doing is putting more voltage through the pump to make it pump more. So it's a little bit of a workaround because the pump's not actually designed to flow that much fuel. So the correct way to do it is by installing a in-tank fuel pump. Now there is a drawback to it. It is a bit more in depth to install. It's a little bit trickier to get to, a little bit messier, but it's not too bad and it is very worth it. How much is an in-tank fuel pump going to set you back? They retail at about £300 and they are readily available on our website. So for those of you that are wanting to have a go at installing this yourself, here are the tools you are going to need. A pair of side cutters, double ear clamp pliers, knife, a series of picks and flat blade screwdrivers, hammer, a pry bar and some tie wraps. Last of all, how to install the fuel pump. Come with me and I'll show you. So the first thing we need to do is in the back of the car on the near side here we have a rubber plate. We also have one on this side, but the fuel pump we're replacing is on the near side. Now you need to remove your back seat lower end, which just pulls off, and then you need to remove this rubber plate. So once that's up, it's time to disconnect the electrical connector and the fuel line. But before we do that, it's well worth me mentioning to you that you shouldn't be doing this with more than half a tank of fuel in the car. If you do, it's going to get very messy. The fumes that come out of here, petrol fumes, because you're in a trapped car, you want your doors and windows open just to make sure that you don't get gassed out. So yeah, I'm going to remove these and get the pump out. So make sure you've got your rags in place to catch any spillages, because some will come out, and the last thing you want to do is working with a mess. So we're going to just try to prevent that as much as we can. So now I'm going to get the hammer and the bar, and as you can see there's many places you can hit it. You want to hit it on the side and remove the securing ring from this. There are special tools to do this, we don't have one, but this works absolutely fine. Now the plate's off, we can remove the fuel pump housing itself. Now this is a little bit tricky. What you want to do is move the hoses out of the way of the tank and just pull her up, bearing in mind that on the bottom of this there is also another fuel line that takes the fuel over here to this sender unit, so that's the only other thing to watch out for. Other than that, this is out of the car. Now with this, because it's in the tank, it ain't going to go far, but the last thing you want to be doing is putting your hand in there, so just tuck it up at the top so that you don't lose it, and then it's easy to reinstall when you put it back in. So now the fuel pump housing is out of the car, you are going to need a series of picks to remove the outer sleeve. Once these tabs are released, then you can remove this centre, but first you need to remove the lines that go into the bottom of the housing and the connectors, and then it'll pull straight out. So first things first, now the pump is out of the tank, we need to remove the electrical loom, as we have a new one with the DW kit. So just disconnecting this to allow us to separate the loom. You can't get these plugs mixed up either, because they only go in their certain specific holes. Some of them can be a bit tricky to get to, but they are out just like that. Now you need to remove the fuel lines that go to the pump itself. These are barbed fittings, so once these go on, they don't pull off. So we've got new ones of these for his new pump. So what we're going to do is just put a slice in the end of them, being very careful not to damage it, because it is very, very close. So there we go, there is our first fuel line removed. The only reason we need to remove that is because it goes into the bottom of the housing. So once all the tabs are removed, loose, we can then remove this from there. So that is just the lower housing. Here we have the unit itself. Here is the pump we are replacing. The way to get this out is just remove this top line here, the same way we've just cut that one. Again, being very careful, and then we can remove this loom, and then we're ready to install the new one. So here's the stock one, here's a DW. As you can see, there is quite a size difference on these. Not all the way, the lower half is probably the same as that, but this for the most part is much bigger. And because of that reason, when we install this in here now, it doesn't actually fit through the diameter of that hole. There's a couple of ways you can do it. You can either remove the tabs, which I'm not too much of a fan of because then it's one less securing piece. So the way I do it is just cut inside here so this can expand, and then you've still got all your locating tabs that are pressing against it. When we put that in, we're going to use some tie wraps around it as well, just to make sure it stays in place. One thing to look out for when doing this is making sure it's in the right position, because when you put this on the bottom of here, that only fits in one way. As you can see, the filter is quite different. It's quite a different shape to the standard one. So if you put that onto there the wrong way, and that's off, and your connectors are the wrong way, and you just be bending over stuff. So you want to put it in more or less the same position it came out in. So bear that in mind when you're doing this. Other than that, what we're going to do now is remove the rest of this line. As you can see, we do have a new line here, and we've also got some new lines here. So let's crack on and get it on. Now we're going to put in the new hoses for the fuel pump. A top tip for you is don't put these on without putting your new clips on first, because they don't open up and go on after, and they don't like to come off either. So now that all that is together, all that's left to do is remove the loom and install the new one. So there you have it, guys, everything you need to know about the DW400 in-tank fuel pump. If you do have any other queries, don't hesitate to drop a comment and we'll get back to you with all the answers. Thank you guys for watching, we'll see you next time.